Coming up on Network Africa, Algerians celebrate the resignation of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika after massive weeks of protests. Alexandra Township shuts down completely in Johannesburg following protests demanding better public services. More details emerge from the final moments of an Ethiopian Airlines flight which crashed last month, killing all 157 people on board. Thanks for joining us today and welcome to the program. I am Amarachi Ubani. Algerians continue their celebrations after President Abdelaziz Bouteflika announced his resignation. He finally bows down to pressure to quit amid massive protests that have dominated headlines since February. He made a rare appearance on state television to relinquish power just hours after military chief Lieutenant General Ahmed Gaid Salah had called on him to leave office immediately.
Jubilation fills the air in the Algerian capital, Algiers. President Abdelaziz Bouteflika gives in to the people's demand and resigns. Succumbing to 6 weeks of largely peaceful mass protest driven by youth and pressure from the powerful army against his 20-year rule. Car horns could be heard in the streets as hundreds celebrated the announcement, waving the national flag and singing celebratory songs.
God willing, we will have a 100% democratic transition. This is very important. We need to remove the whole previous regime, and that is the hardest thing.
News of the resignation came in a statement carried on the state news agency APS, and that the resignation would be with immediate effect. State TV showed a frail-looking Bouteflika dressed in a traditional winter robe handing his resignation letter to the head of a constitutional council. Earlier on, Army Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Ahmed Gaid Salah demanded the veteran ruler, who has been long in poor health, be declared immediately unfit for office. So what is next now that Bouteflika is out? According to the Constitution, the Senate Speaker is expected to take over as interim head of state until fresh elections are held. Many of those who have been protesting are young and say they want a new system of government. According to one protest leader, Mr. Bouteflika's decision to quit would not change anything, and the protest would still continue until there is a total change of the whole political system.
What you're looking at, these protests in South Africa earlier today following the hashtag #AlexTotalShutdown. This is happening in the city of Alexandria. It's been trending in Joburg. They're asking for foreign nationals from neighboring countries to stop erecting and occupying illegal structures, blaming them for crimes in their community. Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibe says community members of the Alexandra Township barricaded roads with burning tires and rocks demanding better public service delivery. Foreign nationals' shops have been shut down as they're fearing could be some looting and some crime going on in the area.
We are protesting today because we want peace here at Alexandra. There are so many crimes which happens during the night. So now all we want is peace here in Alexandra, so that we can have peace here in Alexandra. Most those crimes they created by outsiders, people from Zimbabwe, Maputo, and so on.
Fine, I'm a taxi driver here. I'm driving here from Rivonia to Alex. I've been trying just to collect people to work, but then the only problem that these people, they were trying to restrict us just because there's no road, through road to good traffic to take people to the work.
Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia is on the line now from Joburg. Betty, thanks for joining us on the program. What's the latest now with the protests? Earlier there were barricades, and we saw, a bit of a bonfire in some places and protests, people carrying sticks and so on. We understand shops have been closed. What's the situation now?
It's a bit calmer because it started quite early in the morning, but we understand they've stretched the protest to a close-by highway. It doesn't have as much strength as it had before, but we know there's police presence in the area. Some of the government officials have visited, and some of the police officials that we spoke to say they will do what they can, and they will do their best to ensure the safety of lives and property, whether local or foreign nationals in the area. But they've been there during the bonfires in the morning. They called it the total shutdown of Alexandra, one of the main townships in the country. So you heard some of the residents there talking about what they're asking for, whether rightly or not. But Alexandra has its peculiar issues in terms of planning, in terms of development as well. So probably the government has a lot to say to them, and some of the officials were there to talk to them. Whether they're happy is another thing, because the mayor was the person they expected, but he wasn't there. He sent a mayoral committee member for public safety who they booed. Fortunately, he happened to be of Chinese descent, and they didn't really want to listen to him. They insisted that Mayor Herman Mashaba had to come to address them.
So this just kind of looks like a fallout of these xenophobic attacks, as they're asking nationals from neighboring countries to stop erecting and occupying illegal structures and so on. What has been this? Give us an idea what the situation really is like in Alexandria. I mean, these things that they're complaining about.
Yes, planning is a major issue in Alexandria. Alexandria is quite old; it's over 100 years old. Remember, the global icon Nelson Mandela once lived in Alexandria as well. But now you have Alexandria extended, formally and informally. There are many legal structures. We know that it's affordable to those who don't have much, many of them foreign nationals from neighboring countries like Zimbabwe. But then again, you still have those who they pay them to. Most of them are local. So blaming them is another question, is another issue entirely. But planning is a major problem. And then it's quite dirty. It's quite dirty in Alexandria. The Alexandria rats are quite huge, and they're part of the icons of that area. So planning is a major problem. Probably rightly, they're complaining about that, but whether they contribute is another thing entirely. But planning is a major problem in that area, and they really deserve a lot of government attention.
Yeah, and this problem really isn't peculiar to just Alexandria in South Africa. There are many places around the world where planning is a big issue. But elections, we understand, are around the corner. They're coming up in the month of May, I believe. Some are saying that this might be a ploy by some to gain some political clout. How true could that be?
I wouldn't say political clout. There's a problem in Alex, as we call it here. Like many other areas, we've had protests. But funny enough, the political office holders are pointing fingers. In the case of Johannesburg or Gauteng, it's a peculiar situation. Johannesburg is run by a coalition government led by the Democratic Alliance. That's why you have Mayor Herman Mashaba, who is of the Democratic Alliance. But Gauteng, as a province under which Johannesburg and Alexandra fall, is run by the ANC, led by the Premier David Makhura. So now you have finger-pointing accusations, statements accusing the ANC of trying to gain political points by pointing fingers, but that they had been running Alex and Johannesburg for over 20 years. So it doesn't help anybody. Maybe the people will get the attention that they deserve by this protest. My worry is the safety of those who are not from the country and those who are from the country. But the police is given assurances that, people will be kept safe. There hasn't been records of looting in that area at this point, and no fatalities. So it's been a protest, quite hectic at some point. I remember the police had to fire rubber bullets at a point when it got quite hectic. Yeah. But it's ebbed a bit at this point.
Yeah, it could go either way, really, hoping they get the attention they want, but hoping also the protests don't get out of hand.
Everybody stays safe.
Yeah, yes. Betty. Do stay safe, though, in South Africa and in Johannesburg. Thanks again.
Thank you.
For bringing us up to speed on this. Now, more details are emerging of the final moments of an Ethiopian Airlines flight which crashed last month, killing all people on board. According to the Wall Street Journal, the pilots of the Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX plane initially took the emergency steps outlined by the manufacturer, but still could not regain control. The WSJ quotes unnamed sources who, it says, were briefed on the probe's preliminary findings from data downloaded from the plane's black box recorders. It says that the calls into question Boeing and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration's claims that by following established procedures to turn off the stall prevention feature, pilots could overcome a misfire of the system and avoid crashing. The leaders of South Sudan are set to visit the Vatican next week as part of efforts in sealing their peace deal. Arch-rivals President Salva Kiir and rebel leader and former Vice President Riek Machar are expected to be at the Vatican on April 9th to 10th. Vatican spokesman Alexandra is quoted as saying this will be a spiritual retreat, but it's not clear whether they will be meeting the Pope during their visit. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, millions more displaced in the conflict, which broke out in 2013, about 2 years after South Sudan's independence. Riek Machar fled the country in 2016, but is planning to return next month following a peace agreement brokered last September. Here in Nigeria, the Lagos State Police Command is conducting an orderly room trial for the 2 police officers allegedly shot dead, who shot dead a football fan at a viewing center in Magboro area of Ogun State. As follows a public outcry that followed the fatal shooting of 36-year-old Kolade Johnson during a raid by the anti-cultism units of the command on the Onipetesi Road, Lagos-Abeokuta Road on Sunday. Our correspondent John McQuarrie reports that the unfortunate incident has further sparked calls for reform of police operations in the country. You're watching Network Africa. Still ahead. The World Health Organization reports 1,052 cholera cases in Mozambique, the aftermath of Cyclone Idai.